Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns, and today we're taking a look at two airsoft pistols. So this is a tabletop review / comparison of the Dan Wesson 2.5 inch in gold and the G&G G731 in both black and silver. So I do have the black one here, I'll be popping it in periodically. Both guns are essentially the same, they're just different colors. So there won't be any shooting, and I'm not going to have any specifications really other than what's claimed in regards to the kind of feet per second that they shoot. That field test shooting review will be done later on, just a little bit down the road for both of these guns. Alright, so let's talk about the specifications, and we'll cover each gun separately because they're slightly different. So we'll start with the ASG Dan Wesson 2.5 inch gold in airsoft. It's a mostly metal gun, and again it's the 2.5 inch barrel length in gold finish. It uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges, shoots 6mm plastic airsoft BBs, and since it's a revolver, it has a 6-round cylinder. It also has a smooth bore barrel, again in roughly 2.5 inches length. It's 1.87 pounds or 850 grams, and it shoots in both single and double action. It also has a fully adjustable rear sight and shoots approximately just under 400 feet per second. And again, we'll see what it actually shoots when we do our field test shooting review down the road. Alright, talking about the G&G G731 in the 2.5 inch barrel in black or silver here. And today we're taking a look mainly with the silver one because it obviously compares a little bit better with the gold ASG Dan Wesson. Alright, again, it's an almost all metal constructed gun in a 2.5 inch barrel length. It uses 12 gram CO2 and also shoots the 6mm plastic airsoft BBs. Again, it has a 6-round cylinder styled revolver magazine, and again it has a smooth bore barrel in 2.5 inches. It's a little bit lighter at 1.65 pounds or 750 grams, and again shoots in double action and single action. And the G721 has a fixed rear sight because it's more of a groove sight, and I'll show you that later. And again, it shoots just under 400 feet per second. Now I also wanted to specify these are airsoft guns again, and you'll notice there are no orange tips on these guns. That's because they're the Canadian versions and we're not required to have orange tips on our airsoft guns as they're imported and considered in Canada to be uncontrolled firearms. So no orange tip required because they're actually not considered to be toys. Now both of these guns are made in Taiwan, and I'll just quickly show you the box. They come in these boxes. So here's the G&G box, and I'll just show you this little quick manual in here. I'm not going to really show you the manual, it's just a basic manual, has some information in it. Pretty straightforward. You can look at that on your own down the road. And then the Dan Wesson. Again, the Dan Wesson has a manual that comes with it. They both come with these speed loaders and 6 shells. The Dan Wesson does have an accessory rail, which the G&G does not. So let's take a look at the top of the box. Alright. A little smaller box than the Dan Wesson. Again, both of them come with these speed loaders, and they take the same speed loaders and the same ammunition. Now this is just, I can't remember which one this is from, I just pulled it out. I do have shells in the guns just to demonstrate them for you, but I just wanted to show you the speed loader, what they look like. Alright, at this point we're going to just take a quick walk around of both guns kind of simultaneously just so you can see them and compare them one to the other. So we're just going to quickly start with the Dan Wesson. So we have a Dan Wesson logo here, licensing. We have a serial number on the frame. We have our, this is basically your safe, fire, and then to open your cylinder. Okay, and again, I'll just quickly pull a shell out so you can see it. See right through, right? Very cool. Basically a 357 or 38 size shell. Okay, now the Dan Wesson, the grip just pulls back, accessing the CO2. Your Dan Wesson logo branding there as well. And the CO2 cover is hidden. More of a textured grip with the finger grooves, larger grip, and I will be sort of just showing you really quickly side by side. You can see here, the Dan Wesson is definitely, it's kind of hard to tell, but the Dan Wesson is longer. See, it's longer. It's also taller. You can see how it's quite a bit taller, and it's also thicker in general. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. The G&G is definitely more compact. Same system, you got your safe, fire, and then open your cylinder. Okay, really not a lot of branding other than the G&G on the grips. Okay, now we'll just quickly go over the right side here. To open up the CO2 area, you just pop this off on the G&G, so I thought I'd show you that. And you can get in there. Okay, all metal, as you can see. Now be careful when you put this in. It's one sort of pet peeve is it's a little bit loose, a little bit, so you can wiggle it. So just be careful a little bit when you pop it back in there that you don't force anything. So again, you have your G&G armament branding there, licensing. Serial number is on the right side on this version. More branding on the grips. Very clean, nice looking gun. Pretty much looks like a polished stainless steel. I love the finish on this type of style of gun, similar to the Dan Wesson stainless version. Okay. ASG here, Dan Wesson. More branding, licensing. Branding, licensing. You got your caliber there, made in Taiwan. Alright, there's your grips again. See the texture on it. Now, some people have said that the grip finish kind of wears off over time. Suppose you could repaint it if you needed to, or get new grips. Alright, let's take a look at the sighting system. So you do have an adjustable sight. See here, you can adjust it for both windage, yeah, up and down. See, up and then windage elevation and windage. It's your front sight. Awesome looking guns. So double and single action. We have single action, double action. Okay. Let's take a look at the G&G. So we have basically our groove sight in the back. Nice and compact, so I mean it basically allows for a very sleek design, and a lot of times, you know, these sort of sidearm style backup guns will have that. Just basic, you know, keep everything really basic because you don't want anything catching on anything. You want to keep as small a profile as possible. So this would make potentially a better backup pistol. Double and single action. Right? Again, very sleek. Just want to show you that again. Like just quite a bit thinner. And if you're looking at the bottom versus, look at how high the Dan Wesson is in comparison. It's a lot taller gun, right? And even, I don't know if you can see this, but even the trigger guard is smaller on the G&G, okay, on the G731. Quite a bit shallower. So the whole gun is more compact. Looking at the front, pretty much the same. You got your standard 6-inch or 6mm barrel opening there. It's not going to be recessed really because the barrels are so short on these. You don't want to go too much shorter by recessing the barrel. That's just the way it is. Okay. Not much to see underneath here. Just want to see the finish a little bit. Dan Wesson is finished fairly nicely. You don't really see much of the seams. Really isn't any seam here at all on either gun, which is nice. Both of them are finished really quite well. Right? And this is how the seal works on these guns. And there's a little bit of tension. Whoops. There will be a little bit of cylinder tension because you'll see how that moves in and out to create a seal. And that does create a little bit of friction, which means that when you're using the double action trigger, you've got to get past that. So there's a little bit there. On both of these guns they do that. Let's see here. They both have it. And that just creates a better seal between the barrel and the cylinder, so you're not losing CO2 pressure there. Both have about the same trigger pull, I would say. Pretty much the same. So that's pretty much it for the walk around. I mean, really they're both really nice guns. They're both very similar. I would give compactness to the G&G G731. Maybe a little more flashiness and just sort of, you know, I guess I would say the ASG has just got that sort of bulkier, kind of more, I don't know what you'd call it, combat look to it. Pretty neat. I mean, both of these guns you can get in silver, so if you like the finish of the silver, you could get the ASG Dan Wesson in silver finish if you like as well. More of a stainless look, because I do like the stainless look. I mean, some people like the gold. I figured I'd showcase the gold because it's a little different here. Alright, in terms of performance, I really can't tell you what to expect. I am going to test these guns side by side because I think it's a fair comparison. Both of them being Airsoft, both of them having the 2.5-inch barrels, both of them being Revolvers. They should perform relatively similar. I would say maybe the Dan Wesson might be a little bit more accurate because it's got a little bit better sighting system. But other than that, I think both these guns are going to perform similar. So make sure to check back for the field test shooting review for both of these guns compared at the same time. Alright, let's talk about some of the pros and the cons. Again, I love the realistic shells, mock shells that you load the BBs in and then they load into the cylinders. Very realistic. That gives both of these guns a very realistic feel when you're loading them up. Both of these guns are pretty much all metal with the exception of obviously the plastic grips. Both of these guns have lots of detail and realism. Pretty much everything, all the parts are working just like you'd find on a real revolver of this style. The fit and finish on both of these guns seems to be very good. I really didn't see any flaws or problems with workmanship on either one. Now the ASG Dan Wesson does have the advantage in terms of the sights because they are adjustable, so we'll give that one to the Dan Wesson. And again, there's no red tip here on the Canadian versions. In the US, if you buy these guns, they will have the red tips on them. Whether or not they come off easily, you'll have to find that out for yourself. Now the Dan Wesson, again, it has a rail so you can mount a sight on the gun. Now, honestly, with this type of short revolver, I wouldn't even consider putting some sort of a sight on it, so I don't think that's a big plus. If you had the 6-inch or 8-inch version, you might want to put a sight on there, some sort of red dot. Maybe that version, it would be a little bit better, and that would be a pro, but it does come with the rail if you do want to use it. Now both of these guns are fairly compact, but I'd give the edge to the G&G G731. It is more flush, there's less things that would catch, you have a more sleek finish, and it definitely is more compact. You can see right there that it's definitely a little smaller. With that said though, it has the same size barrel and uses the same ammunition and should be just as powerful as the ASG Dan Wesson. Alright, getting into some of the cons, you're going to find on the ASG Dan Wesson a plastic CO2 screw tab, whereas you have a metal one here on the G&G G731. So there won't be any problems with the screw tab on the G&G, but the plastic grips on the G&G, this grip here, the way it comes off and goes on, is a little bit more finicky. You have to be a little more careful with it, I feel, over the Dan Wesson. So be careful with the grips, taking them off for replacing the CO2. Again, the G&G does not have an adjustable sight, so you're going to have to just sort of, if it's shooting a little left, right, or up and down, you'll have to just adjust for that when you're aiming it. And again, if you're buying these guns in the US, they will come with the red tips, which obviously takes a little bit away from their realism and the look. Just doesn't look quite as nice with a red tip, but you have to abide by the laws, so that's just the way it is. Alright, so make sure to check us out at replicaAirguns.com. We have both of these guns in our Canada Replica Airgun store. We do sell Airsoft revolvers in our US store, so check out the US store if you're interested in an Airsoft revolver. Make sure to subscribe before you head out. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. The username is Replica Airguns, and I'll be attaching links in the description of this video, so make sure to check those out. I'll be putting links to other things like the website, potentially where to buy them in Canada and US. We also have a whole bunch of other products in our Canada and US store, like BB guns, airsoft guns, blank guns, knives, and accessories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.